The persistence running principles are the following from top to bottom. A human being, when we run, we meant to look straight ahead. We try to usually actually follow something when we run as human beings. So most of the time people who run in our little cities, they have their heads down. Now each inch that your head moves forward, it requires for your lower back actually to keep up your trunk. More effort it requires from your lower back to keep up your trunk. Each inch you move forward, it adds an extra 10 pounds worth of tension in your lower back. So generally talking, people run with 3-4 inches their head hanging down, so that increases tremendously the tension in your lower back. So pay attention that predominantly you want to look straight ahead. Of course, that doesn't mean that you don't want to look down not to trip and stuff like that. So head position nice and straight. Pay attention please that the good monitoring method is paying attention if the back of your tongue remains moist or if it dries out. If it starts to dry out, that means you're running too intensely. So that's one of your monitoring techniques to see if you're running too fast or you're running at the right pace for yourself. Another monitoring technique is, for now, with the persistence style running, you want to breathe through your nose and only through your nose. Very important, your parasympathetic nervous system is triggered by these proprioceptors, which are in the bases of your nose hair. So as your nose hair is vibrating, it actually triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, which is essentially helping you not to lose too much energy. It creates more energy. That the parasympathetic nervous system is triggering energy building, to put it in a simple way. So as soon as you switch to mouth breathing, that is more energy expenditure. That's a sign of more energy expenditure. You need more air, and that's why you're opening up your airways and the nose is not big enough. But for our intents and purposes, persistent style running requires you to be able to run for a pretty long period of time and conserve energy. And because of that, if you feel like you need to switch from nose to mouth, I'm not telling you not to breathe on your mouth. I'm just asking you to breathe on your mouth and then slow back down so you can switch back comfortably to nose breathing. So that was so far head positioning, nose, and tongue moist. While you're running, many people have this misbelief that you can't cross the midline of your body. A tiny bit of crossing is completely fine. It's actually helping you to balance yourself as you're switching from one leg to the other. It's helping you to catch your balance. So a little bit of switching front of your midline. This is your midline. Front of your midline with your hands is completely fine. Okay. Please pay attention that while you're running and as you're landing with your foot, over time what you will find that the outside of your foot on the front, this is where you land first, somewhere right here. Okay? Now I don't want you to force yourself to land there, but observe your foot landing, and over time what you might notice that this is predominantly where you will start landing. When you're a beginner runner, most people have a lot of heel hitting. The good thing about the 5-finger shoes, which obviously is the shoe that's a must for persistent style running, it's very uncomfortable when you land with your heel. So it's a great mechanism that will help you to run the proper way, because improper way with 5-finger shoes is very uncomfortable. Improper way of running with Nike or Adidas shoes, anything with a thicker sole is actually totally comfortable. Unfortunately, biomechanically not very advantageous, and it's really not allowing your foot to work efficiently. So pay attention how your foot lands, and see how much you land on the outside of your foot. And that's essentially when your foot lands, it lands on the outside, then it rolls onto your big toe and takes off from there. Okay? But do not force yourself to just run on your toes. That's going to cause problems in your Achilles tendon and potentially breaking some of the little metatarsals in your little bones in your foot. So do not force yourself running away that is not comfortable, but you do need to notice the way how your foot lands, so you learn from it. Also, your foot landing will change according to what kind of surface you're running on. Ideally, deep sand, grass, or any kind of dirt is great. If you're running on asphalt, that's also fine, but you just have to really be careful, nice and slowly running on asphalt. At the beginning, you're going to run slow, it doesn't matter what, but that you need to be okay with that. Another very important principle is competition. You cannot compete with ideas, with time, with distance, with other people. You have to be okay to keep checking in with yourself and just run at the pace that you can manage and you can enjoy it. Because not just physiologically you can injure yourself, but also psychologically. That's why many people get on running routines and they stick with it for 2, 3, 4 months, and then essentially they fall off track because it's not enjoyable. You can also keep up with things if they are enjoyable. So make sure you do not injure yourself psychologically by pushing yourself. Pushing yourself with persistent style of running is actually a big mistake. So enjoy your running and use these persistent style running principles.